inside the park from getting out as we are trying to get into the park. You'll also see as we get closer our lovely signs on the outside of our gates that say trespassers will be. So you can't let their gentle looks fool you.
Let's go.
Coat. And that helps to keep them nice and warm in their more alpine climate that these guys are used to.
No, right there.
The llamas also have very large eyes on either side of their head, and this gives them an excellent field of vision. It makes it very hard for predators to try and sneak up on them. Centuries, but they were hardly ever ridden, and that's because they've got a couple of nasty bad habits. Chief among them is that when these guys get angry with you, they tend to spit. They're very good at it, so you don't want eyes on either side.
Stop staring at me right now.
And also coming up here on our right hand side, folks, we Central and East Africa, sometimes referred to as the cattle of the kings. They come in this solid red color as well as spotted white. And obviously the most impressive thing about them are those very large horns. They're some of the largest in the bovine kingdom. But despite their size, they're not actually as heavy as you might think, and that's because they're mostly hollow on the inside. That allows blood to circulate through the horns, which disperses heat and then returns back to the animal, regulating their body temperature. So it kind of acts like a radiator. You'll notice they're not very large animals. That is as large as they get.
That's me more.
But during those sprints, they are the fastest land animal on the planet. And there you can see another one just kind of past those two layers of fence. There you can see another one on our left-hand side there, very clearly.
See him, Julia? Laying on the ground?
That nice spotted there on this middle platform here. These guys are the supreme hunters of the savannah. Very good at running down and surrounding their prey, but it's actually the female lions that do them. They can weigh as much as around 550 pounds, but they will regularly hunt animals that weigh almost twice their own body weight.
Wow. Means I eat elephants.
Now their natural environment is open grassland with few Africa, but this species actually got its start much further north and can even be found in parts. Now when these guys are first born, they're said to be completely white. They almost look like polar. It's by itself and kind of wandering away from the mother a little bit more. This indicates that it's kind of past that 5-6 month period. We've got 3 juveniles, 2 of them are around a year and a half, whereas the one that's slightly bigger is around 3. But they've also been known to eat small birds, mice, and insects. Now the main way that...
No, there's a baby.
There you can also see the baby that's kind of hanging onto the mom's back that way. Again, this is something they'd only do when they get a little bit older.
See that little baby?
Hierarchy within their troops. Females will inherit their rankings from their mothers, whereas a male's rank is always open to challenge. The ones that you can see here are all the females and the juveniles. The adult males are kept separate. And there you can see an example of that grooming. There's a very good example of it, in fact. Just on that kind of top of the treehouse. And of course, coming up on our right hand side here, folks, we have our very rare white rhinos. Now as you can see, they're not actually white in color, they're more of a stale gray. That's because their name comes from an Afrikaans word, fight, which means wide or square lipped, because they have a very kind of flat lower lip that they use for grazing. You also notice that the rhinos are completely hairless, except for the tips of their ears, their tail, and their eyelashes. Here on our right hand side, you can see the largest living flightless bird. This is the ostrich. Now, although they can't fly, they can certainly use those long legs of theirs because they can run up to speeds of 75 kilometers an hour. And they can maintain that speed for over half an hour without showing any signs of fatigue. Now, all the ostriches that we have here are the females. You can tell them apart from the males, usually due to the plumage color. So the females you'll see are kind of a dusty brown, almost gray color, whereas the males would be just jet black. And females will lay an egg that weighs around 5 pounds, which is equivalent to lying down here. You can see it has that very large front horn. And that one is Mac. They're our only male, the one that just got up onto its feet there. The other three are the females. We've got this one here that has a horn that goes straight out in front of them. That one is Lenny. The one that's moving around in the back there, that one is Fire. And the one facing away from us is Star. And Lenny, Fire, and Star are the three females. Mac is the only male, and they all come from Kruger National Park in South Africa. And they were moved here as part of a translocation program, which is some good news because it means that they were moved because they were actually facing overcrowding in their national park because their numbers are actually increasing in the more impressive than just the fact that they can reach those speeds is the fact that they actually only really run on one toe. We'll see.
Oh, yes, they do have one
Now, it shouldn't come to anyone's surprise, but ostriches are not the smartest animal. That's all that can really fit inside a head that big. But they were domesticated very early on because their feathers were deemed to be valuable. That's why they survive in such adequate numbers today. Also here on our right hand side, we got quite a few antelope here. First off, these ones that are very close to us with that kind of gray, almost dark color. These are the white-bearded wildebeest. They're the 6th largest of all the antelope. They have a very long face to them, and that's because they have a series of nasal flaps that help to filter out dust because they move in very large herds. In fact, they're the 2nd largest mammal migration on the planet after the Mongolian gazelle. And the white-bearded wildebeest also hold the record for the fastest hoofed animal on its feet after birth, the record being 3 minutes. They're also known as the screw-horned antelope, and that's because they have a series of ridges on their horns, kind of like the ridges of a screw. They have that white coat on them because they're deep desert-dwelling antelopes, so they need a way to kind of reflect as much heat as possible. That's the same with these other white ones here that have that copper red neck, but they're called the scimitar horned oryx. These guys come from the more mountainous regions of North Africa. They're very sure-footed jumpers and climbers, which is why they love to hang around these rock piles here. The neck and legs, there you can see a male on the top of that hill just kind of staring us down.
Yeah, he is.
You'll also notice that we do have quite a few lambs here. And that's because they do breed all through. There you can see quite a young one there, just on our left-hand side on the top of that rock there. They've got these very long legs and that long neck. They actually have the same number of vertebrae in their neck as a mouse does, which is 7. It's the same number that we have. And there on my left-hand side, folks, you can see these giraffes that are walking, and you'll notice that when they walk, they actually lift both of their limbs on the same side of their body at the same time. We also have this one in front of us that looks like it's going to cross the street here.
It's crossing.
There you can see a very good example of that pace.
Yeah, he's crossing quick.
You also notice that on the top of their heads, they all have these two skin-covered bumps. These are not horns or antlers. These are called ossicones, and they're actually a part of the giraffe's skull. And now, folks, on your left-hand side, you can actually get to see something that is quite rare. And that is a giraffe that is lying down. So this is something that they very rarely do in the wild because it takes a lot of energy and effort out of them to get down and then to get back up.
Oh, is that his tongue?
Look at his tongue.
Oh, yeah, maybe it is.
Lying down also makes them very vulnerable to. But in the wild, they'd almost never lie down. In fact, they give birth standing up, meaning your first experience in this world as a baby giraffe is a 6-foot drop. But they also sleep standing up, but that's not really too much of an ask for them. Because giraffes only need around 30 minutes of sleep a day.
Oh, there's another one. Right.
Now as we get up a little bit closer, you'll notice the prehensile, which means they can use them like we use our hands. They can grab onto things with them and they can manipulate objects with their tongue. These guys have never been domesticated. That's actually because they lack the endurance of a horse as well as its gentle nature. Zebra are very cautious, very skittish animals because they're some of the most preyed upon species to inhabit the North African plains. Now the zebra that we have here at the park are actually a subspecies of zebra. They're called Grant's zebras. And the way that you can tell them from other zebra is that their black stripes completely encircle their belly as well as their legs, and they get thicker towards the back end or rump of the animal. And there's many theories as to why they have the stripe pattern. One of the more popular is that they act like a Venetian blind. So the black stripes will absorb the heat from the sun, whereas the white ones will reflect it, cooling the animal down. Females can grow horns that are around 2 inches long, but the males will grow horns that are over 2.5 feet and spiraling. There you can see a couple of the males, just with that whiter coat kind of on them, especially at their front. And these guys are incredibly territorial animals. That's why they're kept in their own reserve here. They don't like to be around anyone else. And they come from more of the mountainous regions around Pakistan and coming up here on your right hand side, we're going to see quite a few of them in here, but these are the prairie bison. They're often mistaken for buffalo. There are distinct differences between the two. Bison, as you can see, have large heads, small horns, a shaggy coat, and a hump on their back, whereas buffalo have small heads, long horns, no shaggy coat, and no hump. It's a very common mistake to make. In fact, If any of you guys are sports fans, you might have realized that the Buffalo Bills jersey is wrong. They actually have a bison on their jersey, not a buffalo. And here on our left-hand side, you can see deer. And their white spots are easily seen right now because in the summer, their coat is at its thinnest. During the winter, they will grow a thicker coat and it will get quite a bit darker. And now, folks, if you look over here, you will see a dominant male elk over here on our left-hand side, and you'll notice there's something odd going on with his antlers, and that's because they're usually covered in a soft velvet material that helps to protect them, and it supplies them with a rich amount of blood that helps them grow very quickly. But this is actually him shedding his velvet off of his antlers. So it will look pretty messy. You can see kind of strips hanging off their antlers. And it will have some dry blood on it, but it's a very natural part of the process of their antlers growing. Here on your left hand, you can see some of them have this kind of shaggy look to them, especially on their humps, and that's because they still have part of their winter coat on them. You'll often see bison rolling around in the dirt, and this helps to pull a lot of that loose fur off, and it creates a lot of dust. That helps to keep insect population kind of down around them. Now, at one point, there were around 60 million bison in North America. Unfortunately, due to overhunting, they were declared as extinct in the wild for several decades. Could only be found in protected reserves. In the last couple of years, there have been efforts to try and reintroduce them to certain states and provinces in Canada and the United States where they would have naturally been found, especially out west for us in our prairies. So they are very slowly making a comeback. When fully grown, bison can weigh as much as around 2,800 pounds. And in captivity, they've been known to live for over 80 years. Get a nice look on that kind of velvet on the antlers here. This one hasn't started to shed yet. They'll usually lose their antlers kind of mid-October. And the Native Americans that hunted them Somerset being the larger of the two. And again, they also have that soft velvet, but they're also going to start to shed it very shortly. And there also on my left-hand side, you can see there's a couple